so.
Oh, there's Reg in the middle.
Yeah, and that's it. Morris at the back.
Morris Crowe.
There's probably people who don't even know the club is 70 years old. So just as a club generally, it's saying, look, we've got a history, and three of our founder members from 1947 are still alive.
Oh, that one. Dave Caffrey, he was the main instigator. He was about a year or 18 months older than myself. I was 16, I think. We were out one day. He said to me, "Are you interested in joining our club that I'm forming? Thanet, we're going to call it the Thanet Row Club." I said, "All right then." So I was the 12th member, and I've got the membership card to prove it because I've got 112 on it. The first member was 101.
Down the bottom of Stone Street, there was a cafe, and we used to have tea there. We got together there and decided we wanted something a bit more competitive. So we formed the Thanet, which we had to have 10 members to form a club. And we told Abby we had to have 12, and that's how we got him into it. So we only needed 10 really.
It was only many, many, many years afterwards that I was in my 70s. Dave was telling Ray Goffman how the club was formed, and I was listening, and Dave was saying, and we needed 10 men, he said, to start the club, he said. I said, "You got me to join under false pretences." So of course it was a good laugh all round. But I'll never let Dave forget that.
I was pretty rough and ready actually, you know. We never had any proper gear or anything. One particular morning we were on this particular course, and Minster Road crossroads at Westgate, there were no traffic lights there. And we used to go shooting across there, and there were two guys on bikes, two elderly guys to me on bikes, looking at us. And that turned out to be Neville Hodges and George King, who were in the old original Ramsgate Wheelers. And they'd heard about us and eventually joined us and helped us immensely, of course, because they knew everything about it and we knew virtually nothing, you know.
In time trialling originally, because it was illegal, the riders had to be nondescript, and the courses were only known to the riders and the people involved in the sport.
Cycling in this country was was frowned upon from a legal point of view. So the only way you could race at all was against the clock in time trials, and it all had to be early morning. The courses had to be coded, and it was just to comply with the law in this country.
Well, I always remember just being all in black. The only Thanet one I had was the white one for the track.
Go! You got space now.
Time trialling has been the basic of club riding, certainly in this area, for donkey's years. Probably the basis of British cycling for a long, long time.
It's the Thanet Open 25 time trial. It's a Mike Catlow trophy at stake for the Thanet riders, so we'll all be doing our best, hopefully. He died on this course actually 30 years ago, so it's quite poignant in a way. Terrible tragedy, a young lad, you know, sort of, well, what can you say?
Well, I found out after the event that he'd been knocked off. I lived about 5 minutes walk, just just over the hill, and thought I'd pop round and see how he was, and knocked on the door, and his mum answered and broke down, so it was a bit difficult for I think I was 16. For me, I didn't really know what to do, and obviously I was rather shocked that he'd died.
I joined, it was 87 when I joined the club, but no, Mike doesn't go back as far.
No, unfortunately, it was just a name,
yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a name. Like a lot of the trophies, they're just names.
I won a cup, and it's quite fun actually. It's not. Here you go. It's called the Glenn Nichols, but it's a handicap cup. It's a handicap cup. And I was thinking, when there's a name for a trophy, I just asked the question, who was Glenn Nichols? And nobody knew. Nobody could tell me. So the third place under 14 Boyd is Nate Oldfield. There are some memorial trophies with very, very moving stories. Young riders who've died on the road, doing time trial or on a club run. And I thought that is really sad if the memory goes out of memorial.
The reason I've stopped you here today is 30 odd years ago I was doing a training ride just round here on this bend, okay, and we was coming up this way here. One of the young lads who is out with us, Vince Evans, there is a Memorial 25 which is dedicated to him, was coming up here. We came around this corner here, and for no particular reason he slid off his bike and went across there. There just happened to be a large lorry coming up and he went under the wheels, and that was it. There happened to be a doctor in this house here who came out, but it was all too late, it was instant. I just thought I'd like to stop here and give respect to Vince. I hope you all ride the 25 in memory of him at the end of the year.
So where's your front wheel, Ollie? Let's get the front wheel out, so blinking. Try that one, I think. We need to get back to the mountain bike out.
See up there, see up there.
The thing I like is it's very much a club for all. It's not just the racing, it's the meeting up, social events, the cafe stops, the families, all ages, boys, girls, ladies, men. And just getting to meet some different people and share a common interest, I guess.
People don't tend to leave us unless they move out of the area. People tend to stay because they're still in the area and they're still cycling. And even if they're not cycling, they can have social membership. But then people's children and grandchildren. We've got a lot of parents and their children, but we've also got some 3 generations.
I've got a lot of good friends in the club. I know a lot of people have been involved for quite a while. I've also got a lot of family ties in the club. I think my granddad was chairman once. Obviously, we've got quite a few connections to the club just through the whole family, and it's just sort of because there's so much given to the youth. It feels like sort of I want to turn up just to help along.
Me and my dad ride. I'm the main rider. I've been riding with Thanet for 3 years, and I've progressed from being just a social rider to going to races, time trials, sometimes nationals with the time trials and things like that.
Club's got a really strong group of young women, and that really helps if you've got a group of them there. It's a really healthy club for girls' uptake. Got a couple of women coaches, which I think makes quite a big difference. It's not a male-focused environment. There's plenty of older girls racing still, so yeah, it's a really exciting club for women cycling in the area.
Previous to me starting up the Youngsters Club in 2009, we had no under 16 members at all. Dave Safri was really keen on pushing that, so he wanted to see the club continue, really.
I got drawn to Thanet Road Club actually because I wanted to coach young riders.
Stanley's racing my son, he's racing in the under-10s. We were looking for something for us to do really, and we always used to go out on our bikes together, and it sort of just clicked that it was obvious, it was staring us in the face that cycling was the way forward for us. So the club's absolutely fantastic, everybody's really friendly and really supportive, and you know, they really engender sportsmanship, and it's great the way the older riders encourage the younger riders as well, which is something you wouldn't sort of naturally think you would see. You know, 16-year-old kids are not usually interested in what 10-year-olds are doing, but everybody's really encouraging, and it's amazing how many are cheering him on as he races, so it's really good.
Go Ride is essentially a British cycling run scheme for clubs to have a youth section. So obviously most clubs, they'll have a club run at the weekend, but for a lot of children they can't stay on, and it can be quite dangerous riding on the roads, and it's basically just to help young people get into riding and make it as accessible and easy as possible.
I think just the speed and being able to completely just go as fast as you can, try your hardest, and you always come back feeling like you've done your best, and that's a really nice feeling.
Best time of your life, isn't it, when you're going out cycling?
Oh yes, a very big part of our lives. That came before anything else. Came before the garden and the repairs to the house.
I'm 74 now and I'm still doing it. It's something you can do for on and on until you drop. You know.
And I suppose that is what a club is a group of like-minded people who went together, could make a much better hash of their hobby than they could independently. I've got so much out of being a member of this club.
And it's just a lovely club to come to because it's so friendly and welcoming. So we're really, really glad that we're part of something.
Hadn't got a clue in them days about diets and things like that. All I used to eat before a 25 mile was a date sandwich. Date sandwich.
Sometimes when I was riding down on Romley Marsh, I'd leave about 4ish in the morning, start about 6:30, and then ride the 25. And then when I finished, my friends, Ernie Abdella and Ronnie Winters and company, used to come and meet me, and we'd have a cup of tea and that, and ride all the way back, you know. I thought that was good, keep you fit.
You can just sprint all the way to the line when it's just finished.
Stand
straight.
up on the drops.
You can just and pedal as hard as you can.
As soon as Joe can get on a balance bike, David, he'll be in the college hall, isn't it, Joe? Yes, he said.